Well, hello again everyone, and welcome to another tutorial in how to draw iconic movie characters series. Before we start, of course, if you could subscribe, that would be fabulous. Thank you very much. And also, ring that little bell icon if you want to know what's coming up next. Okay, well, the iconic movie character today is from The Lord of the Rings, and is one of the nasty villains in that series. It's an Uruk-Hai, or it's actually Lurtz, one of the leaders of the Uruk-Hai, who's very famous for killing Boromir. Okay, now what we do is start off with your angle. The face is going to be slightly at a tilt like that. So the eyes will be in this angle coming across here. And then you do the cross, which would come down through the nose. That would give it the tilt of the head there, that angle there. Now, just above the eye line here, we have his forehead cupping out there. And the forehead actually is, it might be kind of egg shape. So we draw this kind of egg shape there coming in. But above that, you've got the hair, which is all kind of pulled back almost into another big, tall egg shape there. And that is split up because the bottom part is actually his hair pulled back and then tied in some kind of knot there, and the top part of the hair then sprouts out of that. So you get the bottom part of the hair coming in up to there and then coming back, and then the top part sprouting out behind it. So you get that almost kind of beehive shape there, coming down like that. Okay, I'm just putting this roughly just now, and the hair all kind of sweeps down and straggles back like that, and then you draw these kind of lines to suggest it coming back from his forehead there. Now, as the forehead comes in like that, you've got that line, as I said, across the eyes here. We have to make them look pretty nasty. So in the middle where the nose is, you get the kind of deep kind of curve there, a wrinkle, as he's frowning. You know, he's actually grimacing, baring his teeth. So you get the kind of wrinkles in your forehead there. And this eyebrow will curve up like that. And this one here will also curve up this way, like that. And his eyes are almost like slits. You know, you get that eyebrow curving up. There's lots of marks on his face, by the way, which I'll put in later. But the eyes, as I said, are almost like slits. So you get this long kind of slit shape here, which is slightly open. And the line underneath it. Yeah, there. And the other one coming in there like that. And with the side of his face appearing to join it there. Now, from this middle part, you get the nose coming down. It's a very short, kind of broad nose. Quite animalistic almost. So you get that coming down to that distance there, and then you get one nostril. The nostrils are almost facing you. You get one there and one there. Like that. Okay? And then a very short distance from there to the top of it, because he's got his mouth wide open. So the top lip comes across almost in a straight line, come just below here, take a line from there, bring it out slightly, because that's the side of his mouth coming out to join the lip. There. And let's say the mouth wide open. So if you take a line down from like the centre of the eye there, bring it down, that's where the mouth would come to there. And then again it would, bottom of the mouth would angle down like that. So the top lip, just double it up a bit, slight curve in the middle, and this side curves in the way to the middle, then out again. You're going to join that top of his bottom lip there, and then the bottom lip shape doubles up and comes around like that. See that yelling kind of expression you got there. Now the teeth don't go right across because they actually only fill in the middle part of his mouth here. You see a lot of gum up here. And in the middle there are 4 teeth. So there's a lot of gum shape in here, and this tooth will start there, and then the next tooth beside it there are 4 teeth, as I said. One there, and then one there. You see all this kind of gum shape. And then there's another bit of gum appearing here, Another teeth. You get the impression of kind of broken teeth, you know, horrible foul mouth that he's got, you know. The bottom part, you would see a kind of sharp tooth coming out there, and then another row of teeth coming along the bottom, like that. Okay. Back up to the eye a second. We get this nice curve coming up here, nice steep angle, and as I said, the eye just barely opens. It's a slit. Goes up at a sharper angle, then curves down towards the back. It's open. You just see a bit of his eyeball in there, his pupil, I should say, and then underneath. Okay, and the same thing with that one there, just a slit. You hardly see the eye open there at all. And then you get his cheekbone coming down, a wee bit of line under his eye there, and then the cheekbone starts about here. Because he's yelling, this cheekbone is pushed out a bit like that, and you get these lines coming down from the side of his mouth, like that, the side of his nose rather, you know, to accentuate. You know, those are the kind of lines you would get if you yelled yourself, you know, you would see those lines on your own face. So that comes in more or less near at the side of the mouth there, back out and round to the chin. See the shape we're getting here? And then up like that. Now back up to the hair again, and this egg shape, it comes in slightly there because there's more hair appearing like that, and it swoops out way up behind him here. So you get all this hair coming out, swooping down, and then the ends all kind of like little tendrils all streaming out. So you get that ragged shape here, like that, okay? And the back part here is all deeply in shadow, and there's more hair, it's coming down like that. And the collar of his tunic comes up and covers this part here. You get one part of his tunic there, there's another part coming in there, and another part there, so it's like a triple shape, and another part coming in down here to join where it will be laced over. The same goes to this part. You'll just see a couple of lines here, and then the collar coming around like that, and then the other part of the tunic appearing there. So they're roughly the shape of the Uruk-Hai leader, the kind of man-beast created by Saruman. He is the Uruk-Hai, you know, to try and defeat the forces of good, but of course they weren't successful. But before that, of course, as I said, this character here killed Boromir. So that's roughly the shape of the head. And I'll just put in a couple more lines now to accentuate the wide open mouth. These lines come around his face here and around the bottom of his chin, a bit of shadow in there. Okay, and all this is in deep shadow, but he also has marks on his face. It's almost like a tree bark, you know, it's quite organic almost. You get these kind of strange shapes appearing on his face, coming up like that. And there's one just above his eyebrow here, which comes around the side of his eye and goes up onto a point there, like that. They'll be shaded in later. There's another one coming in at the top of his forehead there, another one appearing in there. And on the other side of his head, you'll get tendrils of his hair appearing, like that. It's a little more wild than this lot here. Okay. So there's a rough shape. Now what I'm going to do next is just go over it again and bring out these lines a bit more heavily so they stand out a bit more. Okay, as you can see, I've already started to outline some of my sketch lines and bring them out, make them a bit heavier, a bit more prominent. Okay, and I've outlined the side of his forehead here. Just bring it around in towards his eyes. Now let's work on these deep shadows and wrinkles just around his eyes here. Goes up like that and curves over, and there's a line that goes up like that, and a bit more depth and shading around his slitty eyes here, the slitted eyes rather, and then these very pale pupil of his eye there coming in. And then that wrinkle over the top of his nose. And more deep wrinkles on his forehead there, suggested really, he's got that grimacing look about him. And then the other eyebrow comes up on that side, and then this eye appears in there with a little kind of shape under the eye, like that one there. There's that one, okay? And then come down, get his cheekbone in. Before we do that, we could get some more heavy lines around for his hair on this side. This little points coming out like that, and then kind of stray bits curling around, okay? Now, I'll be shading these in later, but I'm just going to get the main bits in at the moment. Again, the nose curving at the top, coming up, going in, and then you get that nostril appearing there, quite animalistic, and almost kind of straight across the bottom with a, this bit will be shady here, because it's turned away from the light. You get the other nostril appearing in there, let's shade that in, and the side of the nose, and a bit of wrinkle coming in there, and a wee line down that side of the nose there, okay? And then from the corner of his mouth you get these lines with these cheek muscles being pulled out. At the front here we have the top lip, as I said, curling. It's wide open, he's snarling or yelling. A wide lip, like that. And we'll double it up, give it a slight curve in the middle, bring it in sharply, and move on to the gum shape here, and then showing the curve of the teeth where they appear. Hear that kind of sharp one there, there's a smaller one here, slightly more broken one there, and a pointed one there like that. Then, as I said, another little bit showing here. Underneath that, we carry on with the lip going below that, curving round to meet this line here, in and out again, then round along the bottom of the mouth, there. And then we've got these pointed teeth at the bottom, then these, again, slightly kind of rotted looking teeth along the bottom of his mouth there. Okay, and bring that cheek muscle in, around his chin. Big deep shadow in here. I'll be using that, using my dark pencil later to shade those in. And get these crease lines on his face coming in, like that, okay? Coming back up. There'll be more work. What I've done is, some bits will be catching the light. So for instance, these bits, you do with flicks of your pencil, coming up like that, leave that bit there, and then do some more flicked lines up there, leave that bit light because it's catching the light, okay? So bits of the front here will be catching light, but most of this here will be dark. So you put quite a lot of weight on your pencil as you bring out these kind of tendrils, like that, okay? And I said we'll be shading all this in dark, but we can do some lines which will show through the dark shading, like that. Okay, and we'll just work on again into this tunic, so you get the line coming in there. We'll double that up, so the top part of the line edge will remain light, and we'll shade in the bottom part. This would be light, but would shade this bit in here as it goes round, okay? But we'll do that in a second. Okay, go back to these shapes again, the mottled shapes on his face. And to make this less, by the way, what I remember, made this look less hairdressed, it was being a hairdresser. In the actual movie, you see lots of bits of clay and dirt and debris in his hair. So you could do kind of wriggly lines like that, suggest that it's not all that clean. Okay, right, and we get that coming up to there. And this will all be dark, right? And this line comes around here, and it'll join with the shadow around his chin. Okay, I'll just double that up again, and then add these bits here. And the next thing I'm going to do is do my shading. Okay, so let's get on with that. Okay, well, I've started up here. Now the hair behind that this band that he has his hair in will be very dark, and this part, as it's a curve, this part here will catch the light, but this will be shaded. So a bit of shading in that. Just use a circular motion with your pencil like that. Okay, so that's very dark in there. Comes round here, and because you've already put all these lines in, you could use a circular motion. If you use the softener of pencils, the 5B. You'll find that if you use a circular motion like that, that edge of the pencil tip becomes flat, and it's quite easy to get a nice, smooth bit of shading. So if you work on that, some bits will be darker than others. The back bit here, for instance, is a lot darker. A bit more pressure on that as it comes up, and then lighter, and so on. So I'm going to work on that on the hair, and then move on to this. But I'll do that first, and then we'll get back to you. Okay, I've been working on the hair, shading it on like that, you see. And you can use that circular motion, but if you want to make it look a bit more sketchy, which I quite like, you can use lots of parallel lines, hatched lines like that, just to build up, give it quite a loose appearance. Okay, we'll go back to that later. Now let's move on to these parts of shading on the forehead and the eyes and so on. Okay, because the light's coming this way, it's catching this edge, so the centre part of the forehead will be more in shadow. So again, you can use these kind of sketchy lines like that before you then start to build in the shapes I was telling you about. There was this kind of odd mottle shape coming up the front of his head like that, and there's more shapes in here. You can draw around them if you like that, and put them in. It'll give more of a sense of the mottled appearance, you know. He's not a smooth character, this, you know. There's a bit above his eyebrow here, which is almost like another eyebrow. It's a kind of dark shape coming in there like that, and then you get these deep bits of shading where his forehead's creased, and nice bit of deep shading in here into the slit of the eye and up in there, you see that? And then around here you want this really deep V shape here to give the feeling that he's very ferocious, you know. Now in here above the eye is going to be shaded as well, and that comes down. There's a darker part there and a shape coming up like that, and the bottom of his eye comes in there. There's also around here the back of the eye, there's another bit of shading here, and as I said, there's a kind of triangular part that kind of pokes up into his forehead there, so draw around it and then shade the top part darker and a bit lighter as you come down towards the eyebrow itself. And then we have these couple of lines here coming up. See, it's building up a bit more dark shading, sketchy lines across here like that, and a bit more shading in here. We really only want the light catching this bit and the edge of his nose, and maybe a little bit here of his cheekbone, okay, and maybe this part of his mouth here and this part of his chin, because as I said, the light, you have to follow the light comes in this side, okay, so the rest will be more or less in shadow. Right, so I'm going to work down the rest of the face, you know, accentuate these bits of shadow here, especially across the top of the nose. A bit more depth under the nose here. A bit more shading there. As I said, leave this bit here and we'll shade around it. Same with this bit here, a bit of shading around that bit of cheekbone. And there's a very dark bit coming down here. Okay, so I'm going to work on this bit, shade it all in, and shade these parts darker than the background. So that would be that kind of tone there. But this part here would be that tone, but a bit more weight on your pencil. Okay, so I'm going to work on that and catch you when I've done it. Okay, as you can see, I've been working down the side of the face. This is nice and dark. This bit, I put a lot of weight on the shading here up to the edge of his collar. This will be dark as well. Now you can either shade it by following the lines like that, with your pencil, or you can just use the circular motion again if you just want to quickly fill in the dark shading. Right, we'll do that in a second, but let's get over to the mouth now, okay? So this side of the mouth, a bit more deep shadow here, coming up to that line there, down the side. And the lips themselves catch a little bit of light there, and a little bit of light here, and maybe a bit there. Because it'll be wet, you know, so you want a bit of shadow along the bottom. And then lift your pencil up a bit and don't put too much weight on the next part, just to give the sensation that those bits are catching the light, like that, you see? And down this side as well. Just accentuate the line there. And the same with this bottom lip here. This will catch the light. As I said, the light's coming in from here. So this bit's catching the light. So leave that white and a couple of kind of lines in the cracked lip here. A bit of shading there. And then just shade in the mouth as dark as you can behind these horrible teeth here. And shade up like that. Okay. Right round. A nice bit of weight on your pencil. All the way around there. And that really starts to make the whole thing look dynamic, doesn't it? Oops. Taking the top off his tooth there. Never mind. Right, that goes in here. Okay, and you don't want this white because it's rotting gum, so you want to put a bit of kind of some lines on them as if they're kind of cracked, you know, and discoloured. Same with his teeth, a couple of your lines in his teeth there. And then just shade the gums in slightly. See that? Or your line in his tooth there, like that. Yeah, that's not bad. Okay, now as I said, under his bottom lip, there's a nice big shadow coming up here. That takes a wee bit too much there, so take that off. Let's hold on a second, that's a bit better. We've got that line coming down here, but it's not as dark as I had it there, so that's why I had this rubbed that wee bit out. It's darker under his lip and not on the lip, like that. Now the chin itself, very dark at the bottom, coming up and losing a bit of the weight as you come up towards that bit there, a bit more light there. But as I said, this part is shaded, so you bring the shading in, but leave this part light. And underneath his collar there, and then underneath his chin and this area, the neck is very dark, so just shade that in as dark as you can. Okay, so I'm going to continue with that and shade in the parts of his tunic, and let's see what it looks like when I've done that. Okay, that's finishing off a few sketchy lines at the bottom here. Try and keep it with that, you know, loose, sketchy look. Nice, kind of lively feeling about it. You don't want to get too smooth, you know, especially with a character like that. Okay, well that's Lurtz, who is one of the leaders of the Uruk-Hai, creatures of Saruman, and enemies of all the hobbits and Boromir and so on, who was killed, I say, by this particular character. Okay, well, we'll leave it to that. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you can join me again for another tutorial very soon. But in the meantime, of course, all the best and happy drawing.